All right. All right. So good afternoon, everybody. So I'm sorry I cannot attend the meeting, so we are going to do it digitally. So the work that I'm going to present to you today is the result of a collaboration between my institution, which is the Crotter Lab in ETH Zurich, and the Forestry department. So that work is about the global tree restoration potential of the planet. So the thing is that if we go back a bit in time and we look at previous work that help people involved in restoration to do efficient work, I would like to start with a paper that Tom Crotter, my boss, published a couple of years ago, which is the paper where he counted the number of trees on the planet. So thanks to his work, we knew that, we learned that we have now about 3 trillion trees on the planet. And this helped a lot all the projects around the world working on restoration, because at the time, most of the projects were only aiming to restore about 1 billion trees. And thanks to his estimation, we understood that, if you can look at the slide, that 1 billion is not that much if you compare it to 3 trillion. So we needed to be a bit more effective. And this, thanks to the work of Tom, we basically updated those goals from those NGOs from 1 billion to 1 trillion trees. So this was really helping a lot to go into that direction. But the thing is that what we didn't know is that, is it realistic? Like, can we achieve that on the planet? Can the planet support that amount of trees? Maybe, considering current climate conditions, we have already too much. So if we try to put a frame around what we have, like maybe we are already overshooting the capacity of the planet. But maybe we can do a bit better, or maybe we can do a lot better. So this is why we decided to study the current tree carrying capacity of the planet in order to see like what's achievable in terms of restoration. What are the limits? So in order to do that, we decided to use a data set which allows us to characterize the tree cover everywhere in the planet. And this data set is very high spatial resolution images. You can see here on the slide, it's a zoom in Senegal, which is a region which appears to be quite dry, without any tree resources. But if you get access to that very high resolution imagery, you can see those trees appearing on the planet. And those trees are not small. Here in Senegal, we have baobab trees, which contribute a lot to the exchange of carbon with the atmosphere. So we decided to use that data because we needed to build a model which allows us to represent like what the planet could carry. We needed to really intercept all the type of trees, all the type of tree covers that we can have in all the biomes of the planet. And the thing is that it was a bit difficult to do it with field data, because field data, often you have that in dense forests, but you don't have that in the middle of the desert. And also we couldn't use really like the original, the satellite data that we use in general, because those satellite data are known to be not to yield really good results in those dry regions. So we used that very high spatial resolution. And so in order to use it, we decided to reproduce an analysis that we already did before in past studies, which was the augmented visual interpretation. So we did not process at all like automatically this data. We just photo-interpreted a tree cover all around the globe with a systematic sampling approach. And we did it through Collectors. Yeah, just a reminder, Collectors is a product that is an open access software, which is a result of a collaboration between Google and the Forestry department. So we needed to intercept that tree cover everywhere around the globe, and we were willing to understand how this tree cover relates to climate variable and to soil variables. And we needed to build that relationship in regions where we have no human influence, because what we were willing to know is like in any place of the globe, like how much tree we can expect to get given the climate condition. So in order to do that, we did this photo interpretation exercise only in the protected areas of the globe. So you can see on the map here, it's only the yellow dots. It's about 70,000 yellow dots that you can find in dry forest, that you can find in temperate forest, in boreal forest, and in tropical forest. Combining the two, so climate data, so precipitation, temperature, edaphic condition, topography. With those tree cover observed in natural condition, we were able to build a model that was predicting tree cover for natural ecosystem. The model yielded quite good results, as you can see here. I will not go on the detail of the stats because the paper is still under embargo until the 5th of July, sorry. And this is the main result. So once you build a model, you can extrapolate the prediction to the entire surface of the globe. So even in regions where we have today a huge human influence. And you can have this like a bit unrealistic view, but this gives you a reference level of what the planet could support if we were not on the planet. So what you can see on the map is that you have those yellow regions are regions that can support a small quantity of trees, in green, like intermediate level of trees, and in blue, like very dense forest. Without going into the details, this represents about, if we convert those numbers of trees in forest extent, this tells us that we can have about 2 times the extent of forest that we have today on the planet. In order to have a more realistic view of what we can do for restoration, we decided to use that map as a benchmark and to remove from that map the current forest cover, areas with farmlands, and areas which are occupied by humans, so all the urban areas, basically. And this is the result that we can get. So this gives us like an idea of how much more trees we can have in regions where we don't have any competition with farmlands, with urban areas, or where we can put more trees where we have already trees, basically. So you can see that on the map that the restoration effort could be really widespread and could require a universal effort because you can do it in pretty much every places of the world. So once again, I cannot give you like all the details about the result because the publication is coming, but what I can tell you is that if we convert this extra amount of trees that we can reach through restoration, this puts forest as the first solution to fight climate change. Actually, this can help us to capture about a quarter of the carbon contained in the atmosphere today. So also, you will find, once the paper is published, that we develop some map for uncertainties so that people can better understand like where our model is good and where our model yields worse results. In order to do that, the thing is that we developed a k-fold cross-validation approach. So basically, the idea was I told you that we did a model to predict from climate variable the tree cover. Well, we did that, but we split the data into 10 subsamples in order to basically like keep each of the 10 times a subsample to test like the quality of the model, basically. The model trained on the other point. So we keep like 90% of the data to build a model and 10% to test the model that has been developed. And we do that with different 10% all the time so that we have 10 tests realized. And the thing is that then what we can do is that we can overlay those 10 layers because for each of the model we can produce a map and we can calculate for each pixel basically the standard deviation of the prediction, which gives us in the end a map of the uncertainties. So this is what we have here. And you can see that we have like quite a few uncertainties in dry regions and also in dense forests. And we can reach about 25–30% as a top maximum uncertainty that we have in our model in more intermediate tree cover regions. So 25–30% of uncertainties in terms of tree cover is still quite a good result as the worst case scenario. So we're not going to the detail, but this slide summarizes basically this uncertainty analysis. And you can see on the right, you have on the x-axis the potential tree cover. So this is what we predict in terms of tree cover. And you have the uncertainty associated on the y-axis. And you can see, as I told you, that the uncertainties are lower when you are close to, 0% of tree cover or 100% of tree cover, and are bigger when you have intermediate tree cover values. So what we did also in our analysis, because we built a model which allows us to link climate with tree cover, we were willing to see a bit what we could expect from the future using climate change scenarios. So linking like those conditions of climate condition that we will have in the future with a level of tree cover. So of course, I want to stress here that this is a lot of extrapolation. We do not consider here, for example, the feedback of vegetation of climate. This is just like using the model that we built for the present, linking climate with tree cover, and just transposing it to the future, just to have a rough idea of what we can expect. And so doing it for 2050 using the scenario SCP 8.5, which is the business as usual scenario, so no mitigation policies for climate change, and combining so several climate models into one and taking the average, this is the result that you have. So this map shows basically, we did the subtraction between what we will have in 2050 and what we have today. What you can see in red is our areas where we risk to lose tree cover, where basically the climate condition will be suited for much lower tree cover than what we have today. And what you have in green are the opposite, basically. If you look just quickly at the map, you can have the feeling that what we gain, basically, what we risk to gain can compensate what we risk to lose. What we risk to gain in boreal forests might compensate what we risk to lose in the tropical regions. But if you look more closely at the numbers and you really like consider the weight of tree cover, so like not attributing the same value to 20% of tree cover than to 100% of tree cover, sorry. Well, we see a lot of differences. Basically, what we see is that we will lose a lot, we risk to lose a lot of dense forest in the tropical regions, while we risk to gain a bit of open forest in boreal regions. So this gain that we will have in boreal forest will not compensate the loss that we will have in tropical forest. And this is expressed in the risk of change in continuous tree cover on the figure on the right, where you can see that the total amount at the latitude of the tropics that we risk to lose is much higher than the total amount that we risk to win in the boreal regions. So basically, what I want to say here with that slide is that looking at the potential and what we could realistically do in terms of restoration, like there are some good news because like this puts forest restoration and woodland restoration as one of the main solutions, if not the main solution to fight climate change. But looking at climate change, also what we can see is that the future is a bit stressing, if I can say, a bit frightening, because those tropical forests are going to be under a lot of climate pressure. So we need to act fast if we want to do something. Yeah, so this is over. Thank you for your attention, and I hope that my colleagues will be able to answer to your question. And yeah, and I'm connected too, so please do. Thank you.